Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast, sharing valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. And now, here's your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, Rob Stanley here, and we got a great episode today. One of my favorite people and one of my favorite companies has been trying to get on for a while. We had to work on this quite a while ago. I got Erika Kraus. She is head of brand and community at 8Fig. Hi, Erika. How are you?
Hey, everybody. It's super cool to finally be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. We actually been working on this for a while to get you guys on. So it's been really cool, a little bit of a process. So we got some great information today. So Erika is going to be talking about, basically we put it like, don't sell yet, scale your Amazon business with these tips. Yep. And she's got some great tips. She sent over some great tips to me to be able to just kind of see what I'm going to ask. And we're going to jump right into this. And of course, everybody make sure to hit that like and that subscribe. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. Even if you're watching this video after, I will make sure to get a hold of Erika and get those questions answered. So we're going to jump right in. So Erika, what is the best suggestion you can give an Amazon seller to scale to 8 figures? Since you're with 8Fig, let's go with 8 figures.
Right. Well, obviously our name is 8Fig. No secret what we're about. We want to help sellers get to the maximum revenue potential they possibly can. Now, we know everybody has their own goals, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But the very first thing I like to tell sellers, and our whole team coaches sellers to do, is you've got to name your goal, right? Like, a lot of people, and I'm one of these people, me and my brother talk about starting an Amazon company all the time. You might have said something at the beginning like, I'm going to just try this thing. I'm going to try this e-com thing. If it takes off, who knows? You might have gotten into it really intentionally. Whatever reason you got into it for, you've got to keep renaming your goals. And so the very first thing we tell people all the time, we'll ask you, if you reach out to us and we happen to get on a call, what's your goal? Like, where are you trying to get? We want to get people from 6 to 7 to 8 figures, whatever their maximum revenue potential is. And then even their aspirational goals, like, this is a podcast talking about don't sell too soon, but we know that a lot of you want to sell. And so if that's your goal, how do you work backwards from that goal? If your goal is to free up more time to be with your family, we have sellers like that, who left a physical therapy office to create an Amazon company and have more time with her family. Others who have wanted to be creatives and have more time to be creative. So you might have a goal that's more about freeing up time and energy, that financial freedom, that entrepreneurial freedom. So name your goal and work backwards from your goal. The other thing is, and because we're saying don't sell too soon, there's so much buzz right now about selling, and that's awesome. This is a fast growing environment. Thrasio is one of the fastest growing companies in the entire startup history. And that's super exciting. There's a lot of pressure to sell, but you've got to know your goal. What are you trying to get to? What are you trying to achieve? Work back from that. Once you have that goal, you also have to have a plan, right? It's one thing to have a goal. It's another thing to actually have the actionable steps to get there. At 8Fig, we have a tool called a growth plan that helps you map out your path to growth across 12 to 15 months and then constantly adapt it to stay on path. But you got to get out of your head. We talk to sellers every single day and we say, hey, where's your plan? Like, what do you use to plan? And a lot of times their plan is in their head, or it's in a spreadsheet, and they're not optimizing it constantly. And so the other thing that we talk to people about is once you've got that plan, you've got to validate it. Are you looking at the data honestly? Are you working backwards with that data? And do you have a profit margin that supports your goal? If not, you've got to be honest about that. If you do, then you've got to constantly adapt. This is not a world. E-commerce is not a world where you can build a plan, push play, step away, and just work the plan. You've got to constantly optimize that plan, adapt. When the sellers we see scale the fastest are really clear about what their goals are. They have an actual plan to get there. They've validated it through data. They haven't kind of lied to themselves about it. It's amazing how many people think their numbers are better than they are. And then also are just scared to really look at the data, because the opposite is true also. Like 75, 85% of Amazon businesses are profitable. And so you might be being too scared, and you could actually pump up the jams and taking bigger risks if you look at the data.
Hey, you're throwing an old reference out there, pump up the jams. We did have a quick question. we did have a quick question come in, and I think this is a great question. And I'm going to summarize it because it's a little bit long. So they were asking, basically, you know, our subject today is kind of don't sell yet, scale your Amazon business with these tips. They were saying, okay, when it comes, if you're saying kind of don't sell yet, and obviously you're starting to give some information on why, what to do. They were asking basically on average, if they were to not sell yet and try to grow their business, what kind of time frame are they looking at to possibly, because every scenario is different, possibly scale it to a point where they could sell it? And I know that's going to probably vary.
It's a general question, and every story is different, right? It really depends on your product. It depends on your niche. It depends on even the seasonality of your business. That being said, I know you're asking for an average. We see sellers move from 6 to 7 figures if they have a healthy cash flow and they're optimizing constantly. Under a year often, and also move all the way to like 7 to 8. You can also scale very rapidly. I can't give an exact number on that because that range gets pretty wonky as far as like the variability is really, really high. But you can get to that 7-figure mark if you are doing things correctly. Once you're at 6, it's really time to start thinking aggressively and scaling aggressively. You've proved out your product. You've proved out that there's a niche for you to engage with, and you likely need to just keep innovating, keep adding to your product line, and really put a healthy cash flow behind that.
I agree. That was great information, by the way. So I think that it's good, right? If you're thinking of selling, start thinking about, let's call it a year to year and a half out. Where do you want to be?
Yes.
What things do you need to do to kind of scale that business up to get a better, it's not necessarily a better multiple, but you're going to get more money off the multiple of whatever you get, right? So if you're going from 6 to 7 figures or 7 to 8 fig, you're going to definitely want to, I threw that in there. You see that 7 to 8 fig?
Thanks
No, you definitely, you know, you got to think about that though. You got to think about what is the process. So I do have another question, actually, is from me. So what often holds sellers back, Amazon sellers, from getting to 8 fig? I mean, I have to say, I mean, I had a couple companies that scaled into 7 fig. Okay. And getting from 6 to 7 seems somewhat easy, at least at the time. It's probably a little harder now. It's been a while since I sold, but man, going deep into the 7 figures, it's tough. And then getting to 8's even really tough. So what often holds back some of those Amazon sellers from kind of getting to that 8 fig, area?
First thing is mindset. We talk about mindset all the time, and I know there's some awesome folks who are doing some really good talks about mindset right now. If you do not have a growth mindset, and what I mean about growth mindset is you are constantly willing to learn, you're bringing in the smartest people around you, you're asking really hard questions, and you're willing to look at the real data, you will not get there. I mean, it would be kind of like a fluke for you to do it. You've got to really be willing to constantly learn, constantly optimize. And also you've got to think what we tell people all the time. We see sellers be planned from batch to batch to batch, kind of in this linear fashion. And it's because they're strapped for cash. They're doing things in kind of a like, I'll do this, then I'll do this, then I'll do this, because they're trying to use the profit from their last batch to push into their next. And we tell people, you've got to actually start thinking, what could I do if cash flow wasn't a barrier? Make your plan that way and then work backwards, because if you're building batch by batch, you're only going to be able to scale so far. So you've really got to start thinking more like move from this to like this, where you're mapping out your batches of inventory, you're stacking them on top of each other, and you're not thinking in a limited fashion. You're actually thinking, what is the demand for my product and how do I match the demand? The other thing is data and planning of kind of I've kind of spoken about that already. You've got to be looking at the numbers. We talked about this on a webinar earlier this week, but sometimes people are like, hey, I'm growing so fast, but then when they're actually looking at their profits aren't actually growing that fast. And so you've got to look at every side of your business. And then cash flow. I mentioned that. Get a healthy cash flow. So many times people are in the honeymoon phase where that product is like jumping, and then suddenly you get a stock out and you go from like, oh my gosh, I just hit 6-7 figures, like I'm moving to like, you can't get back on top. And so you've got to think ahead, make sure your cash flow matches the demand and you're meeting the opportunity just in time. We did a poll.
All right, hold on, Erika, because I got a question.
Yeah.
So you were talking about stock out, okay? And I want to know a little bit more about this and how it affects Amazon sellers. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back after the break, we are definitely going to talk about, or have you talk about stockouts and how they affect Amazon sellers right after this quick commercial break.
Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
Yeah, so be sure to head on over to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. Get that $400 in free FBA reimbursements. And of course, I'm Rob, CMO of GETIDA. And today I've got Erika Kraus from 8Fig on, and we're talking about don't sell yet. Scale your Amazon business with these tips. And right before the break, we were just getting ready to talk about stockouts and how they affect Amazon sellers. Erika, take it away. Tell us how they affect Amazon sellers.
Awesome. Well, if you have found a keyword and you have found a product that is working, you've really optimized your keyword strategy and you've got a product that's working, a stock out could be one of the worst things that could happen to you. Losing your ranking on Amazon, I'm sure you guys know this. It's a very big deal. We have seen sellers lose their ranking and not be able to get back, end up needing to liquidate that line or like kind of start over. If you've put that effort in, do not put yourself in a situation where you're going to hit a stock out. Beyond just losing rankings, which you guys know is a massive, massive deal on Amazon, you also are creating a heavier burden for customer service. Suddenly your return rates are more than your profit and your sales, and you're kind of in an upside down situation where you're spending way more time on one thing when you really need to be investing energy in the others. And then competition. That is the moment. People are watching your business. Your competitors are watching you. They're watching what you're doing. They're watching when you're dropping in ranking, and they're looking to take that spot. And so when you create that hole in Amazon, it can have like a way more rapid effect on your business than almost any other industry. And so you've got to be thoughtful about not hitting a situation where you've not really planned and prepared to have the sufficient amount of inventory when you need it most.
Yeah, no, that's thank you. Appreciate that. That helps understand a little bit better.
Yeah.
So let's jump back a little bit to scaling. Okay. Obviously scaling is a big thing. It's very important. And of course, when you go to cash out, you get the big money, and the higher you scale, the more money you're going to get.
Right.
What kind of data should Amazon sellers use to make a decision on how to scale? You know, if they're trying to go 6 to 7, 7 to 8, that type of thing. What kind of data do you guys recommend them using?
Yeah.
And let us know.
Yeah. I mean, you really got to understand your true costs, the true cost of goods, your true cost of marketing, and you have to understand that you have a good profit margin. There's some amazing tools out there like Data Dive. Obviously, the GETIDA folks are going to help you maximize your profit also through the work that they do. But if you do not have a bird's eye view and a deep dive view of every single cost that you're incurring, sometimes you think, oh, it's only this much, but you haven't really taken into account marketing costs, or you haven't really created a little padding around the freight costs that are going on right now. So if you're thinking, oh, like a lot of people, you'll look up, and I did this the other day, by the way, I have this idea for a product. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, it's not that much. So my profit would be this. I didn't think about all those things. And so you've got to drill down. Once you get that big idea, or you're already in your business, you need to be constantly drilling down. What is the full cost of this entire supply chain? And is the profit there? And then also, like, is the demand steady? Like, am I seeing demand increase? Am I doing what it takes to increase demand by building brand? And then finding kind of the right tools to get that bird's eye view. One of the things we talked about earlier this week is if you are really scaling and you don't have like bookkeeping services, and bookkeeping's not your thing, like we have some sellers who kill it at that. That's kind of like where they nerd out. And we have other sellers who really struggle. And so we want to see our sellers at a certain point, like that 7 figure, 8-figure, you've got to be looking at your books and really, really understanding the entire spread of what's going on in your business. You can't just keep logging into the back end of Amazon and being like, yeah, it's going great. You've got to really look at your numbers. And one of the things that 8Fig does is we provide a growth planning tool where you've assigned to every batch of inventory, how much is it going to cost for the deposit? How much is it going to cost for the balance of this inventory? Okay, how much is freight going to cost for this batch? How much is warehousing going to cost for this batch? And then how much am I going to invest in marketing? The cool thing is in our plan, you can adjust it all the time. So you always have that bird's eye view. But beyond the bird's eye view, when you get to this point in your business, you need to be digging deep on a daily basis and looking at your profit margin.
Yeah. So I think this was referencing back just a little bit. My good friend Danon from Managed by Stats, he said that he's had, to recoup his position, it's taken months. And ads, cost more to boot when you've lost your rank and conversion because you're trying to get back up there again.
Yes.
So totally understand.
Double your spend trying to get back up. You're draining money when you could have just actually scaled from that point forward.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Danon, you should check out this guy, Leron Hirschcoin over at Incrementum. He can probably help you. No, he knows him. I'm just messing with him. No, I'll be seeing Danon on the Seller Cruise next week. Great guy, and he'll be on. He's going to be on the podcast soon. But we got more to go here. So hang tight. We want to talk right now about, okay, what if a person does want to sell? Yeah. What kind of advice do you guys give people that come in and they're just like, I want to sell, or maybe it's, I want to sell in a short amount of time. I don't have a year. Yeah. What are maybe some advice you could give them, or some quick things they could do? And nothing's really quick, but some things they could do. That could help them out, maybe to boost it a little bit, at least, or get a little help.
Yeah, totally. Well, if there's more demand than the capital that you have, you need to get a healthy cash flow. You need to invest in your product. Make sure that your capital is flexible, because you do not, if you're looking to sell, and we have businesses that come our way who are in this position, they're looking to sell in 6 to 12 months. You've got to have a flexible capital solution. So really would say that. Obviously I work for 8Fig and that's what we do, but it really is critical, because we see people not want to take on capital because they'll say something like, I'm thinking, I know I could sell more, but I don't want to take on all this capital because I'm probably going to sell. You should do that if your capital solution is flexible. At 8Fig, you can get moving down your line, hit those goals that you've been wanting to get. If the right offer comes your way, you are able to cancel future lines. And we think that's important because, again, this is a dynamic business. So capital's huge. The other thing is getting really clear on your goal, because if you want to sell and you're suddenly like, I'm going to engage this huge influencer strategy, or I'm going to launch on Shopify. Well, is that really in your best interest? There's so many good talks out there right now. And so it's really easy to pick up the trend and be like, okay, I need to sell right now. For one. So really you should ask yourself, should I sell right now? Or could I get a better multiple? Could I really increase my profit and revenue in the next 6 to 12 months? The other thing is, it's really hot to take on, try this strategy, this influencer strategy, jump on to other platforms, omni-channel, text ads. Like, there's so many things you can do to increase your business. But if you don't understand your goal, you could be chasing rabbits and really, really miss the right thing. So something that I love thinking about and talking about, and Brandon Young's huge on this, our team's huge on this, is name the goal and work backwards from it. Don't just chase rabbits to get there. But if you are thinking about selling, a 1 million EBITDA is a magic number. There's so much more demand for better multiples these days. And it's, it's doubled since like 2 to 3 years ago. And so you want to get to that magic number if you can. Some of you, though, are like, I am so maxed out. I am so stressed. And so I think the other thing I'd really encourage you to do is, like, if there's one thing, two things that are not your thing, but you know you could drive your business there if that was not in your way, name your problem and find a solution for it. Know what your sweet spot is, and then start sourcing, the things that you don't have the kind of expertise in, or the thing that's really draining you. Stress is a major, major factor in a business like this. And so we talk to sellers all the time about, you've got to keep looking at how you can reduce your risk as you go. We built our tool to reduce risk because we know that sellers are stressed. You've got things changing constantly. Amazon's changing, marketing, Facebook's changing, supply chain this year. Good gosh. So if you're not constantly finding the right smart resources and smart tools to reduce your risk, and then you're kind of cutting all the fluff and getting super focused, you could miss some opportunities. But we had a seller just this week that I spoke to, and it was such a cool story. About a year ago, they came to us, and they were doing well already. I think they had already hit that 7-figure mark, but they knew that they were kind of missing an opportunity to scale. And so they took on 8-fig capital. They have tripled where they were. And they just got an offer that blew their mind. And so they're exiting, and they're so thrilled that they put that investment in and they didn't sell too quickly, because they are like at their core, like these like creative artist people, and they want to do what they really love. And so this is going to give them that moment and that margin. I know for some sellers, the risk is really, really high, and you kind of need that padding. And so there is a point when it's really right to sell, where you're like, hey, I want to create some padding for me and my family, or me and my partner, so that like life isn't quite as stressful. And then I can come back to ecom and grow the next one, and then the next one. So, I think those are some things to think about. I kind of just threw a ton out at you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
So a lot of good information there. And, I love it. First of all, I love Brandon Young, and I love that example you gave. Brandon's been on the show. Always great. I love hanging out with him. And my wife's been using his seller systems for over a year now. And it's been great. So yeah, absolutely. But we want to dive more into 8-fig. I don't know if Erika knows this, but I used to work for a funding company, one of them that's out there. So after we get back from this quick commercial break, we are going to talk about what is 8-fig. You've kind of given a little bit, but also why is it different than some of these other funding solutions out there? Cool. Hang tight right after this break.
Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
So if you haven't known already, head over to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. Get your $400 in free FBA reimbursements for signing up. Cost nothing to sign up. And of course, I got Erika Kraus from 8-fig on, and we're having an amazing conversation right now about scaling your business with these tips. Don't sell yet. Now, we want to definitely dive into 8-fig. I want to get some more information out to everybody on what 8-fig is, how it can help you, and kind of how it works. Yeah. So what I'd like to do, start off with just before the break, as I said, I'd like to find out a little bit more about how is 8-fig different than some of these other funding options that are out there. We love them all. Being GETIDA, we love them all. And of course, it's also good to have different options, right? So why don't you let us know why or how is 8-fig different than some of the others, and what is some of the services you guys offer?
Yeah. Thanks so much for letting me share a little bit about that. You guys have probably heard already through this podcast, we're really passionate about helping sellers reach their maximum potential. And I know that can sound just like a cute phrase. A lot of people say it. Growth is like this buzzword. Obviously, we all want to grow. But at 8-fig, we want to democratize online retail by making it the most feasible, doable thing for sellers to scale. And what our founders saw, they were working in supply chain, kind of more on the risk side, and they kept seeing this hole where sellers they kept needing capital, and the capital that they were looking for wasn't available. Either it was capped, they knew they needed more, and if they had more capital, they could sell more, because, traditional model is going to look backwards, look at all your past 6 months, year or 2 years to be able to give you more money. They were also seeing that what was really, really hurting sellers was that their capital was not flexible, and not just flexible in like a little way, but like truly, truly flexible. And so the third thing they saw is that sellers didn't really have a plan. Like they were kind of riding a wave and didn't really have a clear path to growth. So we thought, what if we could help sellers fund their entire supply chain across every batch of inventory by giving them a growth planning tool that was actually adaptable? So we like to say it's not a loan, it's a plan. It literally is not a loan, but we want to give sellers a growth plan. And that's kind of one of our main differentiators. When you log into 8Fig and you sign up, you're going to take 20 minutes. We're going to bring in all this data from Amazon and auto-populate a plan for you. And then you're going to optimize it. I need this amount of money then for inventory. I need this amount of money for freight. I need this amount of money for marketing. And so it helps you think through every bit of money that you need for every stage of your supply chain. And that's just for one batch. So then you can build out all these batches and actually see, wow, if I work this plan, I will hit 7 figures. I will hit 8 figures. Now, the big variable that I didn't mention yet is like, well, what happens when there's a supply chain crisis, or Facebook changes something, or Amazon changes something? Those are huge hits that e-commerce sellers face. And so we made a decision that our growth plan and our growth capital had to constantly be adaptable without penalty. And so when you take on a growth plan with 8Fig, you can use our free planning tool and not take on capital, or you can infuse that plan that you just mapped out, your cash flow plan, with capital. That's cost effective, equity free, guarantee free, and it's adaptable best of all. So when that supply chain, when we had a gal this year whose entire Q4 inventory got demolished by a really bad player in the freight, and their freight kind of partner. And so they lost everything. What would have literally like completely obliterated her business ended up just being a massive bummer setback, because she was able to hit these 3 dots, submit a change request, move that line down where she wasn't paying on it anymore. And it helped her avoid a major catastrophe. On the other side, we have sellers who are selling quicker than they thought they would. And so we're sending them like notifications saying, hey, we're seeing you're selling quicker than you had planned. Maybe you should beef up your capital on this line. And so then they can really infuse that with more cash to meet demand. The thing that is so unique about our tool, and I'm so proud to be able to like represent it, is that it helps sellers build a plan, optimize it constantly, and then also really avoid those kind of like horrible moments that could tank your business. And so that goes back to like, some people sell too soon because they're so exhausted from the risk and they don't believe they have what it takes to actually move to that next level. And with a tool like this, we're able to kind of help people get to that next level. There's some really cool stories from this year. We saw one seller go from 0 to 7 figures in 10 months with an influencer strategy. We saw one seller go from 500K to 3 million in a year by doing amazing research and getting ahead of the stockouts. And then another seller do 600% by investing in aggressive PPC. All of that was because they built a plan. They worked the plan and they adapted constantly. Our sellers use our change request feature. Like 70% of sellers are constantly using that feature. And when we see that feature being used, we're like thumbs up, because that means you're working your plan, you're adapting it, you're not kind of on autopilot, and you're that smart, scrappy seller that we're super proud to partner with.
Yeah, I like that. I have to say, like, I ran an e-commerce company for 20 years. I was late. I should have sold when I was peaked, and I waited, sold on the down. But I think I have to say, and kind of speaking from an entrepreneur's point of view and being in for as long as I was, I think some of the reason why I ended up not selling at that point was I was kind of scared. What was next? What do I do next? Right. And it's like, I didn't know, I didn't have a plan necessarily of what I would do next. Of course, it was also quite different back when I was selling. Things are different now. There's a lot more opportunity, in my opinion, even though some people say, oh, it's harder to get into Amazon. It is, but there's opportunity there if you take a hold of it.
Opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it was one of those things. I think, if people are kind of scared to kind of enter that realm of wanting to sell because they're not sure what they want to do next, put a game plan together. Put a,
yes.
What do you want? I liked how you said, put your goal and work backwards. If there's somewhere you want to do after, no matter what it is, maybe it's not even an e-commerce, put it down and work back from it and then think about it. So I would like to,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I want to talk to you more about 8Fig though. And I want to get a little bit deeper into like, who are the right customers for 8Fig, and also who are maybe not the right customers for 8Fig. And we're going to do that right after this break.
Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
Okay, people already know to go to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics, so I'm not going to say it again. So, all right, so we got Erika Kraus on here from 8Fig, and we've been having great information coming from her about, basically some tips on what to do before you sell. And what I'd like to do, though, is kind of let's give some information on when it comes to 8Fig, who is the right person that should be talking to you that could definitely benefit from your services, and maybe who, and I don't say want the wrong person, but they're just not ready for you yet. Kind of give an example of both of those. And let's tell us about it.
Cool. Well, if you're an Amazon seller and you want a growth planning tool, you can sign up any day with 8Fig. Our tool is free. So you can use our tool. It is the most advantageous though for people who have also like taken a growth capital with us, because you're actually moving real money around when you're making adjustments and whatnot. But did want to mention that the thing is we are actually there to help you scale. So we are your like growth partner. We want to help you scale to your maximum potential. We are not your startup capital. So that's one thing you should know. People will reach out to us and say, hey, I have this really cool idea. There's other resources for that. And we're just not that. And so we encourage you to kind of do research on specifically like startup capital, or reach out to family and friends who might want to go in with you. But we're not startup capital. Once you have hit that 6-figure mark, though, we are there for it. We want to help you get to 7 figures, then from 7 figures to 8 figures, or get to that multi-7-figure sale that you are really trying to get to. So if you're 6 figures, you're on Amazon, you're an e-commerce seller, we're an awesome fit for you. I think you'll really love using our tool. But yeah, again, we're not there for the early stage, which for in Amazon world, actually, you can go from 0 to 6 so quick that you might sign up for a free growth plan today, and 3 months from now, you might be calling us or reaching out for capital. So, it can move really quickly.
Yeah. So a question actually did come in. Again, I'll just summarize because it's easier. But basically, they were asking, what things can they use the funds from 8Fig for? Yeah. And is there anything they can't use it for? So I think that's a good question.
Yeah, amazing question. We want to help you fund your whole supply chain, right? So if you have a product that is already moving, meaning we can look at the back end and see that, there's awesome, sales volume, and you are moving that product, then we want to fund your inventory and sourcing, your inventory, your freight, your warehousing, and your marketing. What we don't fund is your new products. So we want to fund your hero products. Once you have your hero products fully funded, you got a healthy cash flow there, you can free up some of your money to reinvest in new products. We're not going to fund that new product right off the bat. We're going to let you run that product through your other, profit for the first 3 months. But once you have 3 months of history on it, you can add a line to your growth plan. Again, it's super scalable and adaptable, and we'll fund that product also.
Excellent. And that sounds familiar. So
yeah.
I should start a company just funding new products. I mean, it's just
actually there's some good.
It's risky though. It is risky. Yeah. And I completely understand why. Yeah. I've lived in that world for a bit of the funding stuff also. So what I'd like Erika to do though, because we are going to wrap up here real quick though, is I'd love for Erika to kind of just, if I missed anything about 8Fig, please fill us in on that. And then also please tell people how to contact yourself or 8Fig if they're interested in getting more information or signing up, or the free tool even that you just talked about. Tell us some more. Tell us a little bit more.
Sure. Well, first, just in closing, I want to say, obviously, we're telling you don't sell too soon, but we want to champion and celebrate like whatever goal that you have. And the main thing I would say is look for the right partner and the right buyer. When you are looking to sell, you want people who have your best interest in mind, are looking to create win-win solutions. And I know there's some folks out there like that. So be sure to find partners that really, really are invested in your best interest. Again, we're super passionate about helping you reach the fullest potential you can. If you want to set up a free growth plan, go to 8fig.co, 8fig.co, and we'd be thrilled to help you set up a growth plan. There's people who are live on chat. So if you get stuck and you're like, I'm not sure about this, they'll jump in. They'll help you optimize your plan. You can submit your plan from there. We'll send you an offer within 48 hours most of the time and get you on your way to that next stage that you really want to hit. So that's the easiest thing to do. And we'd love to even set up a free planning session with you. So if you're interested in that, reach out at 8fig.co, just hit the contact us and mention my name. And I'm more than happy to get you set up with a planning session.
Perfect. Yep. So it's up on the screen, 8fig.co. So 8fig.co for everybody who's listening. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check down the description. I'll have an actual link to it. And great information, by the way, Erika. It's amazing to finally get you on. I've been trying to get 8fig on for a while. In fact, I think this started like a year ago at Prosper or something like that.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah,
it's been a little while. Of course, yeah. I've also, I'm glad we got it done.
You're a busy man, Rob. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, it actually falls on me. I am pretty busy. And in fact, speaking of that, all the listeners out there are watching. Yes, the show for the next 3 months will be a little scattered on when I'm having it. I am traveling a lot. So please excuse if there's not a show every week. But for those who are, we do try to have a demo every Tuesday, or show us what you got is what we call it. And then of course, every Thursday is our audio/video podcast. And I will try to get them posted as soon as I can and get them done. But please, everybody, reach out to 8fig.co and ask for Erika or take advantage of the free tools they have. It's been absolutely amazing having you on. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on with us and share these great tips.
It's been so fun, Rob. And we're really excited to see you at Prosper. I hope you're going to wear your money outfit.
Of course.
We're trying to come up with something as cool and fun as you. So we'll high five and it'll be fun to catch up with you more there.
Very cool. Well, stay on. I got an idea for you. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.